Welcome, one and all, to episode. I did the podcast today. Episode, it was 235. I was in podcast mode. Welcome to Signals From Mars Livestream, brought to you by the Mars Attacks Podcast and VMRIT, my web design company. And we are here on Friday night, August 3rd. And we have an interesting night planned, thanks to the fact that I was scrambling for guests, and Jeremy Weltman came up with an interesting idea, which was to do an Ask the Host show. So that's what we're going to do. I love the idea, and we'll see if you guys think this is interesting or not. Is anyone out there in the chat tonight? Let me hear you. Let me see you. Type something up. Let me know you're there. It says that 5 people are watching. Here we go. Jeremy Weltman chiming in from the UK. Jeremy, I don't know if you got to listen to the episode I posted today, but your patron's pick was phenomenal. Okay, it was just ridiculous. It was the best of the best. Just the way that you described everything, the way it was all laid out. If you don't listen to my episode if you don't listen to episode 235 of the Mars Attacks podcast for anything else, listen to Jeremy Weltman's patron's pick. The Bronx is a band that I never got into because of just some shenanigans they pulled a few years ago, and it kind of turned me off to checking them out. And after hearing Jeremy's review, I have to check the new album out. So let's see. We have Mr. Brad Dahl. Dr. Poison is in the house. Let's see. He is protecting Utah from Black Widow bites. Yikes. So I'm assuming that's what he's been tending to today. So let's see. So Jeremy says he just had listened. Thanks. My album may arrive tomorrow. Well, very cool. Rob Rowe checking in from Missouri. Hello, sir. Jeremy posted that he's waiting to hear what the other albums that I received this week are. And I held off doing the album of the week because, first of all, the album of the week that I did this week, Fear Factory's Aggression Continuum, that was supposed to arrive last month, supposed to get here, the 20th. And EMP, which is the company that I do, which is where I purchase a lot of my stuff from, their shipping is usually takes a week to get to me. Even if you pre-order, a week. It's just ridiculous the way that it works. But so that was coming out on the 20th, and it should have been here around then. But it got here on Monday, which was the 30th. And then I received another notification on Monday that something else was coming. So I was waiting. I was like, all right, well, what else did I order? I know that I've ordered a bunch of things, but I don't remember what order they were coming in. And, what album of the week do I want to feature first? So since I got the Fear Factory first, that's what I went with. Brad Dahl, new releases today. Yeah, we did new releases today. We featured the new Iron Maiden album, which Jerry from Long Island has chimed in quite a bit about it on the Patreon. Jesus, I can't say it lately. On the Patreon page. And actually, Johan up in Sweden, who's checking in after the midnight hour. Hello, sir. How are you, Johan? Johan also chimed in and said that that he's been listening to the new Iron Maiden today. And so I featured that, and I featured the album Molotov Rocktail by the band Bokassa, I guess is how you pronounce it. They're a Norwegian band. And if you're into, stuff like the Helicopters, or you're into Turbo Negro or stuff like that, I'd recommend checking them out. They're a Norwegian hard rock band that, you know, teeters on that line between being stoner rock and, you know, all the other great stuff that a lot of Scandinavian bands are doing. So anyway, let's see. Jeremy saying a couple of my albums are going to end up as Christmas presents. They're going to be so delayed. Yeah, no kidding. The Fear Factory came a month after it was released in any other format. And there are a few others like that as well. It makes you think, did Maiden cut the line, or did they put their order in last year? You know, and that's what's forced them to release this on September 3rd. So anyway, let's get into the questions that you guys have sent in. A lot of these I'm just going to answer off the cuff, and there are others that were sent to me that I had to kind of prepare and write the stuff down because I didn't want to be brain farting on the air. Jose up in Connecticut. Hello, sir. Hope you're doing well. And let's see, Jeremy, Maiden gets priority, so many sales. Yeah, that's probably what ended up happening. So anyway, let's start the Ask the Host segment here. And let's see, this first question is coming from Steve Hoker. When and how did you get into wrestling? Okay. So I got into wrestling, I have to think like about 82, 83-ish. And the reason that I got into wrestling was because my father and my brother wanted to annoy me and not allow me to watch Saturday morning cartoons. So they would put wrestling on to piss me off. So what ended up happening was I ended up liking what I was seeing. And then it turned from, haha, you know, let's put wrestling on so that it bugs him to, why are you watching that shit again? So I did a 180 and they did a 180. So, yeah, so it was sometime in the 80s. It was before WrestleMania, definitely. And, you know, golden age, or, you know, there's several golden ages, but before, it was, yeah, because when I started watching, Backlund was still champ. Iron Sheik shortly thereafter beat him, and then Hogan beat him for the first match after, you know, how all that went down. So, all right. Question 2 here. Let's see. What was the first heavy rock metal you got into? This is coming from Jeremy. All right, Jeremy, my first recollection of anything remotely hard rock or metal was Kiss. Kiss. 4 years old. My brother had Alive 2 and he had Destroyer. And as a kid, you know, I saw the imagery. Wow, looks like a cartoon. And they're playing instruments too without realizing what the lyrics were about or anything like that. And I still go back to the booklet that came inside of Alive 2, The Evolution of Kiss or something like that it was called. I'd lost that many years ago. But there, you know, each member had an entire like page dedicated to them. And I remember seeing Ace Frehley with his Les Paul with the smoke coming out, the silver makeup, and being, oh my God, what's this? That moment right there, that got me into Kiss. So Kiss is what did it for me. And I'm lucky that my brother is slightly older than me. He got other albums. He moved on from Kiss and got other things like AC/DC's Back in Black and Cheap Trick Live at Budokan and Pink Floyd's The Wall. And Ted Nugent's Scream Dream, and there were a few others. There was Pat Benatar's Crime of Passion, then Led Zeppelin 4, and stuff like that. But the only thing I got into or bought or had people buy me up until 83 was Kiss. So There you go. Quiet Riot broke the streak with Mental Health. Anyway, let's see here. Jeremy Weltman, any memorable gigs? There's quite a few, and for a lot of different reasons. I could think back to the first kind of like real metal show that I went to. That was at Studio One in Newark, New Jersey, which was affectionately called Studio Scum. Your feet would stick to the floor in that place. And the bill was Crowbar on, I believe, their first national tour. Drummer went on to become the drummer of Black Label Society many years later. Craig Burenbacher or something like that, his name was. The second band was Souls at Zero, who used to be Wrathchild America, who had Shannon Larkin, who's been playing in Godsmack for several years, played with Ugly Kid Joe, and has done a ton of studio work with Glenn Tipton and Tony Iommi and a lot of different people over the years. He's skinny, like a noodle. As I see that Paula, Jose's wife, is in here. Angel Di Maria, who plays with PSG. He's affectionately known as El Fideo, which means I just read Brad's thing and lost train of thought. But anyway, the noodle or whatever. He's so skinny. He's known as that. But anyway, yeah. So Shannon Larkin was skinny as can be, just bones. Was carried on stage by two people. I have no idea what was going on, but once he got behind the drums, he knocked it out of the park. Headliners were Sacred Reich. No problem, Brad. Your stories are always interesting. Anyway, that was memorable. I got to see Kiss on the first farewell tour. Was memorable for being horrible. Got to see a festival here in Spain where it was the two headliners were Kiss and Dio back to back. Well, Dio then Kiss. That was Dio's last solo tour ever. He did that while Heaven and Hell was on break, and then shortly thereafter he went in for chemotherapy and died less than a year later. So that's very memorable. Got to see Queens of the Stone Age, which was great, opening up for the Red Hot Chili Peppers in New Jersey. One of my last shows that I saw there while I was living there, I should say. Iron Maiden with Halford and Queensryche opening up at Montage Mountain in Scranton, Pennsylvania. That was great. There's been a ton of stuff. And I know that this is kind of off the beaten track here, but seeing another festival in Madrid with Deftones really stood out to me, and the reunited Faith No More. Those two on that bill were just ridiculous. They were phenomenal. So there's a lot more. I don't want to. I could go for 2 hours just on that. But let's see. Another question from Jeremy. Are there any bands you didn't like at first but do now, and vice versa? Any you like but now can't stand? A few weeks ago, we talked about yeah, okay. So that's right. Pete was there with me for the Iron Maiden, Queensryche, and Halford. That's right. Yeah, I had 4 tickets and I gave the other 2 to some schlomos at work that supposedly worked for the crew of Queensryche or knew someone and was going to get us to meet the band, and they took off before us. So whatever. Anyway, yeah, so any bands that I used to not like and now do, me and Brad talked about this a few weeks ago. Skid Row. Hated Skid Row. And then all of a sudden, about 2-3 years ago, was like, okay. And actually, I will say that this leads into bands I can't stand now. This kind of came from the whole Vinnie Vincent debacle. and Vinnie Vincent, Vinnie Vincent's Invasion, a band that I always loved, and I always defended Vinnie, and until he fucked with somebody that I knew, and exactly what Gene and Paul and everyone else had always said about Vinnie over the years was exactly what he did with my friends from the Rock and Pod Expo. As some of you know, I'm the webmaster for the Rock and Pod Expo site and the Decibel Geek podcast as well. And after they fucked with Chris Czynszak and Aaron from that show, who've been supporters of mine from way back, been friends since way back, I spoke to Chris Czynszak yesterday for almost an hour on the phone. And after they fucked with him, I was like, I want nothing to do with this guy anymore. So at that point in time, I said, okay, I'm going to listen to bands with a much more open mind than what I did in the past. Skid Row, love those first 3 albums. There's songs off of the other albums that have come out that I like, but not as much as those first 3. That's one band. Another band that I don't care for, and this is a conversation I had with my brother today. We were talking about Van Halen. And as much as I like the Sammy era when it came out, I can't listen to it anymore. I just what clicked with me back then just doesn't anymore. I don't know. I just love the Roth era, and I can listen to that stuff at any point in time. And if you like the Sammy stuff, great. I'm not going to be one of these guys that, oh, Sammy sucks, but whatever. I just prefer the David Lee Roth era. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Slaughter's a band that I came to later on as well. Extreme is a band that I came on to later as well. Believe it or not, Judas Priest, they solidified things with me with Painkiller. Why? I was a casual Priest fan. I liked them. I didn't hate them, but I hated a lot of like the jargon that Rob Halford was selling. He would come on TV and say, we're the greatest heavy metal band in the world. Sorry, Jeremy, that's my lame British accent. And he would say, there's no other band that's as good as us in the world. It's this, it's that. And I was like, fuck this guy. Who does he think he is? And then Painkiller came out. And that's what made me go backwards and really get into Priest. So late to the party with them, late to the party with Metallica as well. Thanks to Pete's brother, John. I remember coming back from Spain, and they already had the Black Album, which came out in August. I wasn't back from Spain yet. And I remember John said to me, he said, poor Broomy accent. Yeah, that's shit accent. I think I could do a better Paul Diano. All right, lift up your middle fingers. All right. Anyway, so John said to me, you need to listen to this new Metallica album. I know you don't care about them because of all the stupid shit that we thought of when we were kids, that, there were people in high school with us that said, either you like Anthrax and Metallica, or Anthrax and Megadeth, or you like Metallica and Slayer. And first of all, I hated Slayer. Again, another band that I didn't get into until much later. But John said to me, listen to Metallica with an open mind, without any pretenses. Listen to this song, Enter Sandman, and let me know what you think. And I remember we saw the video on MTV, and I was like, holy shit, this is kind of cool. And then he played for me On Through the Never. To this day, I don't know if you could see this. I have goosebumps. Not only do I miss John, he's unfortunately no longer with us. These conversations are very similar to the conversations I would have with him and Pete back in the day. And that song, I remember him telling me, On Through the Never and Of Wolf and Man. Check these 2 songs out. Those 2 songs, those 2 songs plus Sad But True, I would play like on repeat over and over again. I remember at one point I listened to Sad But True like 80 something times straight. Of course, now it's been listened to so many times that it's different. But when that album came out, it was just so huge, and that made me go back and investigate Metallica. I will say that, as much as people love Master of Puppets, it's probably my least favorite or one of my least favorites by the band. So it flip-flops, though. Can be Injustice, can be Ride the Lightning, can be Death Magnetic, which I absolutely love as well. Can be the first album. So see that, Jeremy? The two of us kind of did the same thing. We both did Black Album and back. All right. This is another Steve Holker question. When you first started podcasting, what was something that was easier than you thought it would be? And on the flip side, what was something you thought would be easier but turned out to be difficult? The last one is easy. Okay. Getting people into the show. That was a lot harder than I thought it would be. And in general, podcasting has changed a lot in 12 years. Early on, I was pulling at least 3 times the listens and downloads that I have now. It's not even close. I did the Van Halen 2 episode that I did for the classic album series, had 20,000 listens and downloads in a day. A lot of it had to do with Dan Lorenzo saying, if Van Halen never existed, I would have been happier, or something to that effect. And people went apeshit to check out the post, and then ultimately checked out the episode. So it worked out for me. But that's something, with the advent of the Eddie Trunks and Jamie Jastas and all of the known people that have come on board afterwards, have really taken away from, all these years later, I see myself as an independent podcaster. Not to be mistaken with an independent contractor that may be in the world of wrestling, or maybe would have worked on the Death Star. Anyway, when the bigger names came, it also drew a lot of people away from the smaller shows, unfortunately. And I appreciate the fans that I do have. And that's something that I honestly thought that maybe would have been easier to maintain. Also, due to health reasons, I was touch and go for a lot of years with doing podcasts, where I was releasing maybe 10 episodes a year. And I get it. People find other shit that they like better, and I'm fine with that. Things that were easier to do than what I expected. Yeah, when I started out, I could say, hey, I'm part of the Talking Metal family, and doors would open up. When I was, not that I wouldn't be able, nowadays I ask Mark if I can use his name for different things and whatnot. And I don't, people used to suppose, because they would hear me on the show all the time, that, you can get me on Talking Metal, right? And it was, I can mention it, but I'm not the decision maker. I'm just kind of along for the ride here. So that's my answer to that one, Steve. I hope that I was good enough answering. Jerry from Long Island, different kind of desert album question. What band's full album collection would you take to your island? This is difficult because I've always said it. I've said it today. If you read my new releases post on the new Iron Maiden album, Iron Maiden and Kiss are my favorite 2 bands, by far. 1A and 1B. But yikes. Brad, you were distracted by someone who ate all his heroin. Wow. Okay. The funness of poison control in Utah. Anyway, so getting back to the question. I was thinking about this because I went back and forth. Would it be Kiss? Would it be Maiden? Would it be Kiss? Would it be Maiden? Would it be somebody different? And I would have to say it would have to be it would have to be Kiss. Yes, everyone needs a hobby. Now, let me ask you this, Brad. Does he fall under the he's going to die but not from that? I don't know. I would think that maybe that's one that you can't pull with that one. Ate all your heroin. I don't know. So anyway, I would say Kiss, band that I've listened to again since 4 years old. Is everything of theirs great? No, but I think I would have enough music there to make my stay on that island great enough. Oh boy, okay. But will he be bleaching it at the same time, Brad? That's the question. Let's see. Question number 7 here. Mike Jones in the house. What made you move to Spain? A few different things. So for me, technically, it's September 4th. A week from now is September 11th. I unfortunately witnessed September 11th from about 100 yards away. At least the second plane hitting the towers from about one football field, one football goal away from another. For those of you like Johan and Jeremy, one side of the football pitch to the other. And that really messed me up for a very long time. I still can't watch footage from that for various reasons because the whole thing just plays in my head again. Took me a very long time to get those sounds and those visions out of my head on a daily basis. My wife is from over here. I was working a job in New Jersey. Was seeing everyone else get bigger cars, bigger boats, and me getting dollar raises every year. So I looked for something else, and I figured, what's the difference if I move to Europe or if I move somewhere in the US? I had a job opportunity over here, so I came over here. So that's basically it. Let's see. This is jumping on into Jose's 10 questions. So here's a few of Jose's questions. And Johan, I'm going to touch upon food in a second. Next to heavy metal, what other types of music do you really enjoy? Okay, folks, I was doing a show called No Metal Cred for a little bit because I decided that, I wanted to do stuff outside of hard rock and metal because I listed a lot of other stuff outside of hard rock and metal. And then it also depends how you define things. Do you define alternative rock, not hard rock or metal? Because there are some things that kind of cross over. Do you define things like 9 Inch Nails that have an, industrial harder edge to it? Do you consider that not hard rock or metal? I love Duran Duran, for example. Flat out pop band. Information Society, pop band. I love a lot of different pop music. There's a lot of times where we're in the car and my wife will say, can't you put on something heavier than this? I can't listen to this pop stuff anymore. But she'll do that with, hair metal as well. So sometimes she just wants to hear stuff that's thrashier. So anyway, let's see. Second question from Jose. Let's see. What's your earliest music-related memory? I mentioned it before, seeing Kiss for the first time, 4 years old in an album. Yeah. Jose, no bachata, no reggaeton, nothing like that. No cumbia, no salsa. Never got into any of that stuff. I can respect it, but when you go out for drinks and the only thing you're hearing is reggaeton, one bar after another. It's the same fucking beat. It's the same misogynist lyrics. Time to find something else. So, and another, I said Duran. I would honestly say within my top 5 favorite bands, I said Kiss, I said Iron Maiden. I would honestly say U2, Depeche Mode, and Anthrax. That's my top 5. So, I thought you were giving me the whippa, not the wah, not the what. So, and I skipped over Mike Jones' question. Who's your favorite patron? You guys are all my favorite patrons. Thanks for your support. So there you go. Let's see. What's your favorite place in Cantabria to visit? Now, this was Cantabria, for those of you that don't know. For those of you that aren't related to me in the chat, it's the part of Spain that I live in. It's the province that I live in. It's the second smallest province in Spain. Mike is one of my favorite patrons to come out of New Jersey. I'm taking my mother. I'm using my mother like answers when we prod her about who her favorite son is. Anyway, so the province where I live is the second smallest. So we're the equivalent of what? Delaware, Connecticut. I forget which is the second smallest. I know the Rhode Island is the smallest, but favorite place to visit. I'll say this, that the other day we went on one of my favorite walks, which is there's a famous there's a favorite or a famous again, I'm reading the chat while I'm answering stuff. There's a hike that we did. There's a famous beach called El Sardinero in Santander, which is the capital of the province. We walked from the beach. You can park your car there, and then there's a set of stairs that you can go up, and there's a series of parks that overlook the bay, the ocean, more or less. And you can go up to the lighthouse, and then beyond the lighthouse, you can walk up the coast. So just seeing that scenery and everything is really cool, and just walking by all of that. Botes or potes, as we've affectionately come to call it, is actually another favorite. They fixed up the road so it's easier to get up there. But, you know, we love going to a lot of different places around here. And now, you know, that my kids are actually of the age where we can go to different places, we're venturing out more. Due to COVID, we haven't done it as much as we've wanted to. But tortilla with or without onions? How about tortilla with onions, chorizo, and green peppers? That's my bag. But we have to fight with my kids because nothing green goes into their mouth. So peppers is off the table there, but they want shit like a layer of cheese or tuna fish on top, which to me is taboo, or ketchup. So yeah, I hate going to La Magdalena just strictly because there's so many people that are there, that it's difficult. It's difficult to go out. Gabriel, I will say that I sent a message out to the patrons. This was open to the patrons to ask the questions. You're late to the party here. Question 4 here. Besides pizza, which you mentioned recently, what food from back home do you miss because it's either not available or not as good where you're at? It would have to be some version of Italian food, which is Americanized, like lasagna, because the lasagna here has bechamel, or however the hell you call it. It's a French thing. I'm sorry, Johan, if I'm butchering this. You're the chef out of the group here, so I don't know exactly how it's pronounced, but in Spanish it's bechamel. It's this a cream that you use to substitute the ricotta cheese, and it just kills it for me. It makes it taste like plastic. Believe it or not, I miss certain Chinese food dishes like refried rice and shit like that isn't available here, because Chinese food, believe it or not, is made Spanish here. So the rice is different. It's more like paella rice, which is thick. The way that stuff is fried is different. And what's the best dish that I can cook? And actually, ¿quién es más macho? ¿Quién es más macho? Fernando. I don't want to. I'm not seeing the older thing. Let's see. ¿Quién es más macho? Fernando Lamas or Ricardo Montalban? Answer it in public, needs to know. Yeah, the old SNL skit. The best thing that I can cook. Actually, cooking on Mars, I actually did with my old Spanish podcast. I did a few cooking videos where I made I did nachos, where I did them with ground beef, all different types of peppers, guacamole, sour cream or cream fresh, cream freshy, which is the closest thing to it here. That, and put that into the oven for like 15 minutes until it all browns. That's like my cheap, like less than $10 version of getting your Fridays, nachos or whatever that costs a ton more. And then I also did what I called, I would call them my atomic dogs. So it was a hot dog, which I would split down the middle, put slices of cheese in the middle, and then put jalapenos, onions, and then wrap that closed with bacon, put that on the grill, and then put it in a hot dog bun. So there you go. I tend to, just do stuff like stuff on the grill, or, if I need to make burgers or chicken breasts or turkey, or actually for Thanksgiving, I've made American style turkey for Thanksgiving with stuffing and the and the whole shebang. So there you go. I've never shied away from cooking. I've actually been stopped from cooking more so than by my wife to say, no, I want to do it because you make too many funky combinations. I saw a video where somebody made macaroni stuffed pizza, and I made it, and she absolutely hated it. So anyway, let's see, where were we? I don't know. There's, believe it or not, and this is a question that I get asked all the time. What Spanish restaurant do you recommend? And I always say, I don't know, because my wife is an excellent cook. So I don't normally go out to eat for something that is going to be better at home and is going to be fresher at home. So usually when we go out someplace, it's American fast food, because it's stuff that we, don't have at home: burgers, fried chicken, pizza, stuff like that. So that's what we usually go for. And in our little neck of the woods, we got KFC like 2 years ago. So there you go. I'm sure we could make all that stuff at home, but just don't know how to. All right, next question. Is Regma ice cream as good as it used to be, or are there any better places? They have a monopoly in the area. They're all over the place. This is an ice cream brand that is from this area, so they're everywhere else. There's another brand called La Polar, but they're, it's more like, I believe they get stuff from some central location where it's not freshly made locally. So hot dog steamed in beer and hickory smoke sauce. Yum. I will say that my grill is a steamer as well. So I do have an assortment of different types of wood chips. And I've also used white wine in the past to make different types of steak and stuff like that, or burgers, and have like a hickory taste or stuff like that, or even the whiskey stuff. So yes, I remember Hot Dog Johnny's. Probably can no longer drink the buttermilk due to all the stuff that has gone on with my intestine these last few years. Anyway, let's see. What is your favorite pincho tapa? Tortilla and possibly I don't know. No, gambas al ajillo, which is fried shrimp with garlic. Basically, it's. So I would say that is the king. As kids, we used to go to Newark to get all of that stuff. So anyone that's in New Jersey that doesn't know about Ferry Street in Newark, if you want Spanish food that's very close to authentic, that would be the place to go. Let's see. Best non-concert you attended. Or best non-metal concert you attended. Okay. So again, if you don't consider Nine Inch Nails metal, I would say Nine Inch Nails by far. But if you consider that sort of metal, it would be the Police reunion tour, July 4th, 2008, at the BBK Live Festival in Bilbao, Spain, which is about 40 minutes away. And that was awesome. Worst crowd I was ever in, but the Police were awesome. Johan, yeah, I eat seafood. We eat a lot of seafood because we're on the coast. So, but I mean, probably the seafood that, like what I was saying, we eat a lot of shrimp, we eat a lot of squid, we eat a lot of well, even stuff that isn't from here, like halibut or cod, or even salmon. I eat a lot of salmon. Is probably the fish that I eat the most because of the omega-3 and all that good stuff. So, or trout. I love trout as well. So I've make that stuff on the grill from time to time as well. Most memorable Rangers game. Most memorable Rangers game was with my cousin Gabriel and with Doug Thomas. It was Mike Keenan's first game back, and I have this recorded someplace on cassette still, where towards the end of the game, we started chanting Keenan sucks, and we got the entire Madison Square Garden to chant it. And then they asked Esa Tikkanen after the game what he thought about it, and they asked Mike Keenan about it, and they both said, "Oh, people kind of forget what we did and all this stuff for the team." And I was like, "Well, you guys got up and fucking walked away when you had a better opportunity." Jeremy, New York Rangers, they're a hockey team. I was actually speaking to Johan about them because Henrik Lundqvist just retired, who's going to have his number retired by the team, one of my all-time favorite Rangers as well. And that's a hockey team from New York. No Rangers, absolutely, or no Devils, absolutely not, because when I was a kid, Rangers were on free TV and Devils were not. So that's why I never got into Never got into the Devils, but I've seen more games at the old Continental Airlines Brandenburg Izod Center than any other arena because we got free tickets all the time. So there you go. Let's see. Number 8, besides family and friends, what do you miss about New Jersey? Just being there, just the surroundings, just going to, various parks that I would go to on hikes. I'm so want to go back. Hopefully next year we can go back and show my kids a lot of things. And unfortunately, vintage vinyl, which I loved, which just closed recently. Hopefully by the time I get back, the Sound Exchange in Wayne is still open. There's so many vinyl albums that I want to pick up that aren't available here, or that shipping will cost, my firstborn child to have shipped over here. So I miss a lot of stuff. Yes, I miss my cousin Gabriel very much. So there you go. Devils is my team in the USA. Love Martin Brodeur and Scott Stevens. Johan. Scott Stevens, the cheap shot artist himself, possibly two of my most despised players of all time, but I respect your decision, my friend. There are a lot of reasons why I don't like Scott Stevens. One, he was shuffled out of the he was shuffled away from the Washington Capitals for something that he did off the ice, and they shipped him off to St. Louis just so he could escape prosecution from something. Then he didn't want to go to the Devils originally, and he only went to the Devils because Sean Burke was it Sean Burke? No, it was oh, damn it. I can see the damn player in my head. It wasn't Kirk Muller either. Kirk Muller was the same circumstances, but with the Capitals. Anyway, St. Louis signed someone from the Devils who was a restricted free agent, and Scott Stevens was supposed to go to was supposed to go to the Devils. They offered Rob Brindamore. They said no. They wanted Scott Stevens. Scott Stevens held out for 6 months, and then no, it wasn't a forward. It was it wasn't a goalie. It was a forward. Brendan Shanahan is who St. Louis signed. I knew it would come back to me. Brendan Shanahan was signed as a restricted free agent. So they had to send Stevens back. Stevens didn't want to go. Stevens held out for 6 months. And Stevens, unfortunately, thanks to his cheap shots, shortened the careers of Paul Kariya, Teemu Selanne, Eric Lindros, so on and so forth. And he was taken out by the same type of cheap shot that he received or that he doled out. Had his head down, somebody lined them up and checked him right in the head, and he had to retire as a result. So it was kind of karma. Anyway, let's see. How will Barca do this year? Same thing I mentioned to my cousin Walter, who and Garbs, by the way. Pack is Pete. So we have a Sonic Fusion reunion here in the house today. There you go. Signals from Mars could be signals from Sonic Fusion. Anyway, Sonic Fusion was my first band. Gabriel was one of the guitarists. Pete was the bass player, and Pete's late brother was the other guitarist. So I was stuck behind the drums and singing with my crappy voice. So there you go. Anyway, as I told Walter, as long as Barcelona finishes within the top 5, I will be happy. They're not going to win the Champions League, but they have a lot of young kids, a lot of young talent. I prefer them to play the young talent over the overpaid veterans that are just there for the ride. So there you go. Could they win Copa del Rey? Maybe. Could they win La Liga? Perhaps. But I think after Griezmann, who did absolute crap for Barcelona, went back to Atletico Madrid, I see them as the front runners. So anyway, when are you dropping by Connecticut? Hopefully next time we're in the States. We'll see. We were on one of our typical walks the other day saying, first time we're there, where are we going? So let's see. Brad, your question. I don't know if you're walking someone off the ledge right now, if anyone is calling in about heroin, Black Widow bites, or even using bleach products to between the cheeks as the call that he got last time. So you asked me for 5 bands and songs from between 2000 and or 2020, 2020 and 2021. But I'm going to give you a few more than that. And I tried to go outside of the norm and try to curtail things towards yard metal. If you guys haven't checked out Brad's channel, yardmetal.com, or his page, 24 hours of nothing but great hard rock and metal music. And you got it, Robero. Yes. So anyway, here we go. And if anyone else wants to take notice or write this down, and a lot of these songs are in, especially for this year, they're in the Patron curated playlist that you can find if you go to MarsAttacksRadio.com. And you could check on playlist. If you click on playlist from the menu, you can find the playlist in either the Spotify or Apple Music format. It is well over 2 work days worth of music. And although it only shows up to 100 songs for both of those platforms, there's much more in there. So let's do it here. Songs that I recommend: Burning Witches, Dance with the Devil, Haunt, Mind Freeze, War Kings, Odin's Son featuring the Queen of the Damned, who is Melissa Boney from the band Ad Infinitum. Unleash the Archers, Faster Than Light, had Brittany from the band on a few episodes ago. Seether, Bruised and Bloodied. Local H, Beyond the Valley of the Snakes. Phil X, who is Bon Jovi's guitarist. So it's Phil X and the Drills, which is technically his old band. I Love You on Her Lips. The Quill, Hallucinate. Scream Machine, Demondrome. Snail, Nothing Left for You. Mr. Misery, Ballad of the Headless Horseman. The Warning, a trio of sisters out of Mexico. The song is Choke. The song starts out one way, and it takes you off in a completely different direction. And almost everyone that I've played this song for, the reaction is, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. So The Warning, the song is Choke. The Ugly Kings had Nick DeMont on last week, and Electric Lady, My Kryptonite is the name of the song that I recommend. Spirit Adrift, who just released a 3-song EP. The track is Wake Up. Edge of Paradise, who will be releasing the album The Unknown this month. The title track is already out. Check that out. And Bokassa, band that I talked about earlier, who I also featured along with Iron Maiden in my new releases post. And the name of the track that I recommend is Burn It All. But the entire album is really good. If you're into, again, stonery type rock, a lot of what Scandinavian hard rock bands have been doing lately, I definitely recommend that. If you guys want me to post this, I can do that. Let's see. Another question from Jerry. Iron Maiden in a huge outdoor stadium or Iron Maiden in a small club with 100 people? Pete and myself got to see them at Montage Mountain in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I believe that's about 20,000 people that were there. They actually did, before they did 2 of their tours, they did small, and when I say small, it was for 8,000 people at the Bilbao Expo Center here in Bilbao, Spain. They played to just 8,000 peoples, and people. And it was the warm-up shows for their tours. I unfortunately did not get to see any of those shows. I will say that I did get to see Ace Frehley in front of 200 people, and I've played here in Spain at a festival with roughly 200 people. So I would... Seeing Maiden in such a small club would be just beyond ridiculous. And hopefully at that point, Bruce wouldn't be bitching about audience interaction, but whatever. Okay. And the last question that was submitted to me was by Mr. Rob Rowe of the Rock and Row podcast. He asked me to list my top 6 Kiss albums, and what would they be? So, here we go. Top 6 Kiss albums. By far, Creatures of the Night is my number 1. Number 2, Rock and Roll Over. Number 3, Dress to Kill. Number 4, especially the resurrected version that Bob Ezrin redid a few years ago, and that's Destroyer. That remaster just sounds so ridiculously good. Love the classic sound, but that's how you remaster an album. How he did Destroyer. It's beyond ridiculous. Number 5. You take I Was Made for Loving You away, and it's Dynasty. And number 6, Kind of Me Cheating. How about side 4 of Alive 2, which I absolutely love. So that would be my top 6 Kiss albums. I mean, there are a lot of other albums that I love, even in the non-makeup era, that I listen to all the time. So hard, but not that hard, because I like a lot of this stuff. But there you go. Now I will open up the floor. If anyone else wants to ask any questions in the chat, I would be more than happy to answer them for you. Things have been going great tonight. A lot of interaction. I thank all of you guys for being here. Any questions? Rush? Johan, Rush is another band that I started listening to a lot later, because Rush was a band when I grew up that was always on the radio. Once Tom Sawyer hit, Rush was on all the time. So it kind of drove me nuts. And it was one of these bands where if you came across someone who was a fan of Rush, it was Neil Peart is the greatest drummer of all time. Geddy Lee is the greatest bassist of all time. Alex Lifeson's the greatest guitarist of all time. So on and so forth. So that drove me nuts as a kid. Now, I loved a lot of stuff that they put out along the way. And for me, believe it or not, Snakes and Arrows is the album that really, really got me into them. I absolutely love that album. And that's why I would love Iron Maiden to work with Nick Raskulinecz, because of what he did with Rush on that album. Not only from a sonic standpoint, but from really getting them to go back to who they were, in my opinion, on those last 2 Rush albums. So Johan, did you get to see Rush in concert? Have you ever seen them? If so, let's see. Oh, Brad, did you mean what was his first Rush album, or what was his first Rush concert? Bands that are popular but you can't stand and maybe surprised us. Wow, you got to see Rush 6 times. What was the most memorable, Johan? Bands that you can't stand that maybe um, surprise us. Slayer, not that I can't stand, I can appreciate them now. Volbeat is a band that I totally lost interest in. That's one. I'm trying to think. See, it's hard for me to recall bands that I don't like because because of the fact that I focus on what I do like more so than bands that I don't like. Bands that I used to like, maybe Manowar that I no longer like. I liked them for a period of time there, but it just got to be too much for me. Oh wow, Snakes, which was a ridiculous setup, front row in Stockholm. Wow, that's awesome, Johan. And I know that they're your favorite band, so just to be able to see them, because that was their last tour of Europe, if I'm not mistaken. But hey, we got good old another Jose. We have Jose from here in Santander. Thank you for joining me. A master musician in his own right, a ridiculous guitarist. When I used to help Mark run Talking Metal, I used to insert his band Wayne in there all the time. Band that I still listen to all the time. And actually, if you guys have heard Galaxy of Geeks, when I would do the quick hits, that is Wayne. So I may owe you royalties, Jose, for for that. Let's see. Oh, so you got to see them at Sweden Rock as well. Wow, that's awesome. So I'm glad you got to see them. So you got to see them twice. Have you seen Rush outside of Sweden? How about that? Do I prefer single or double bass? Depends the song. I think double bass is now being overused because of a lot of people doing studio magic, where they later no longer play live. I've mentioned this several times recently, how I've seen Dragon Force, where I've seen Dragon Force live, and they were not live. They were they were lip syncing, Milli Vanilliing it. So there you go. To Jose in Connecticut, my answer to your anise or your chupito of orujo, it would probably be orujo, but I would go Jack Daniels over both of them. So, and Jack Daniels with no ice. If it was good in the Wild West, it's good for me. How about that? So there you go. Brad, I will play you some of Jose's band. The singer who so Jose from Wayne, I don't know if you've heard this story yet, but when I was with my family in Barcelona, we were at Camp Nou, which is where Barcelona plays. My kids wanted to see the stadium. And I hear somebody yelling my name, and I see this tour bus. And I see somebody stand up, and I'm receiving a phone call at the same time. And all of a sudden I look up, and it's Goyo, who is the lead singer of Wayne, lead singer and guitarist of the band Wayne. And we're like, Never in a million years. And I haven't seen any of you guys without COVID or anything else in probably 2-3 years in person. I saw him at the top of the tour bus, and we chatted on the phone for a little bit. So, Brad, it is WAYNE. They're on Spotify. I'll send you a link, so if you want to check that out, I'll see if I can get a hookup for any of the CDs or anything. So I will let you know. What else is going on, folks? What other questions you got? Interesting for Paula. I'm not sure if the tortilla question with the onions or not was for a specific member of my family that hates onions. Anyway, Rob Rowe, we need a monthly show of this. Ask Mars Attacks. Well, we'll see what happens. It could be a feature, and the way the month is going, who knows how it's gonna play out. For those that don't know, I had Danko Jones scheduled on Wednesday. That did not happen. Trying to schedule John Bush or possibly Joey Vera from Armored Saint for an upcoming episode. I was told it's going to happen. They just have to give me a date for Friday night show. And I'm trying to work a few other things out as well. And Johan, Spain after loss against Sweden. Yeah, this means it's going to take them longer to get to the World Cup. They have no designated forward. Sweden is lucky because they have Isaac, who plays here in Spain for Real Sociedad, who is he's great with Real Sociedad. Let's just say that. He's a forward that I've wanted on Barcelona for years. Spain is 2 to 3 tournaments away from competing. And once they get the forward situation straightened out, hopefully Ansu Fati is back and will be the main forward going forward, but we'll see. All right. No. The reason that I ask the onion question is because a member of the family is not allergic, but she hates onions, butter, things of that nature. So we have to be very specific when we make tortilla when she's around. So there you go. Anyway, yes, John Bush would be fantastic. John Bush, probably my favorite interview of all time, outside of having you guys on. So there you go. Are we all on next Friday? So here's the thing. I threw up in the chat what days, what possible dates, either next Friday or the following Friday, to have the patrons on for the band discussion. If you are not a patron and want to be involved, $2 a month is all it takes. And you can join us next week. But looks like we're going to be discussing Judas Priest, because it seems to be what everyone wants. So there you go. Judas Priest discussion next week. It will be similar or the week after. And it's depending on when they give me when they give me Armored Saint. Okay, so Friday the 24th, you're not available. No, it's either the 10th or the 17th is when we're doing it. So if you're not available on the 24th, that's no problem. What do you guys think about the KK Priest music so far? For people that have checked it out, I know that I've posted some of the songs in Patreon. And Some of you guys have really liked it. Some of the people have been lukewarm. Some people have talked about the lyrics kind of hopefully being better. To my understanding, KK wrote everything without Ripper really being involved in the vocals. So we'll see what that happens. If you look over here, oh, can I do this? Follow my finger here. See my finger here? If you take a look there, I may have to throw the flashlight on. Let me see if I can get this. No, I can't do it. Anyway, right there. That is Triumph the Insult comic. So do you think the KK pre stuff is good, or is it to poop on? That's where I was going to. Yes, very nice. It's difficult for me to judge from watching the videos. I need to hear the album. Okay. I will say that maybe the lyrics to the song Brothers of the Road may be cheesy, but man, does that melody get stuck in my head. So I really like that song. And let's be honest, Priest hasn't always been Opeth. There hasn't been a hidden meaning. So, but there you go. Guys, if you are in Patreon, I know some of you don't get to have time to go in and check out the videos. Some people just are there just to support in any way that they can, and I appreciate that. But for example, these KK Priest songs, if you want to check them out, there is a search within within the Patreon page where you can check the stuff out. So there you go, Jeremy. You saw Priest 2 weeks ago. What did you think? Were they good? Were they, I know that some people have been criticizing them about the set list, that they're playing too many of the same songs. I know some people have said that opening with, I believe it's One Shot at Glory, which I love that song. I know some people have said that kind of wasn't their bag as an opening thing. That's kind of like when I saw AC/DC on the Ballbreaker tour. They opened up with Back in Black, and a lot of people were like, well, that's not an opening song. And I'm like, that song is such a quintessential song. Okay. So Jeremy's gonna wait until the Priest special. Okay, I got it. Jeremy just dropped the mic on us. So there you go. Last John Bush interview you enjoyed, Rob Rowe. This is John Bush. This is a sample of the our conversation before the interview started, and this is at the beginning of every Mars Attacks episode.
Let's do it.
That's John Bush.
I'm ready.
That's Joey Vera. That's from two separate interviews from 2 different years, and they kind of go hand in hand, and I have them there. So, let's see. How could you go wrong opening with Back in Black? I thought the same thing. There were people that wanted them to open up with I think like Hell's Bells or Thunderstruck or stuff like that, but there you go. Judas Priest references flying galore in the chat. Get down on your knees and repent if you please. There you go. The Sinner. One of the staples of, or one of the only Priest songs that Eddie Trunk plays to death nowadays. But there you go. Best AC/DC song. I'll say favorite, not best, because everyone's taste is subjective. That's the way I want my rock and roll. I love that song. How about that? Or if not, if it's got to be Bon Scott, maybe Shot Down in Flames or Touch Too Much. Let's see. I will say this for those of you that this is a conversation that I have with Mark Striegel all the time, where his kids want nothing to do with any music remotely close to rock. My kids stayed up late one Friday because they were premiering songs off of AC/DC's Power Up in Fortnite. So they went absolutely crazy because they played some new songs. They did Thunderstruck, stuff like that, and it was all animated. They went nuts. And it's funny because I think AC/DC is the first band that they've begun to know from hearing the vocals and the guitars who they are. And I've tried to trick them, like playing Crocus and stuff like that. And well, Big Balls is my 8-year-old's favorite AC/DC song because, all of us, it's a joke, he's saying balls, Dad, when I explained what it was, so that instantly became his favorite. But my oldest son, one day we're in the car, he says to me, is this off of Power Up, the new AC/DC album? I said, yes, why? He goes, I was listening to it on the computer the other day, and I really liked the album. I was playing, I forget what game he was playing, Minecraft or something like that. I was playing Minecraft and listening to AC/DC at the same time. I listened to it a few times. I really liked it. So, so yeah. I will say that I've never forced them to choose any style of music because my oldest loves listening to YMCA by the Village People. They love Old Town Road by Little Nas X. They love a lot of pop music. Believer by Imagine Dragons. What's another one that they play all the time? High Hopes by Panic at the Disco. So they listen to a lot of things. I don't want to force them just to listen to hard rock and metal. I want them to make their own decisions. And I've often talked to them how I want to do an episode every now and then with them talking about music and how they get into stuff, because it's an unfiltered, untainted look at a lot of this stuff, where for them with AC/DC, it isn't, oh, I don't like this album because Malcolm Young didn't play on it. Because this is a Brian Johnson album and not a Bon Scott album, I don't like it. That type of a discussion. They're looking at it at a completely different way than we are. They're getting into music similar to the discussions that we have, where I talk to you guys and like getting your stories from all around the world and hearing about what got you into a certain band or how a certain band rose to prominence in your country or your part of the world. That's kind of, what I'm getting from them. But my youngest, if there's something he likes, because they were using one of my old iPhones, AIR by Anthrax was played 680 something times by him on loop, until the point that I started saying, please play something else. Then it was Run to the Hills by Iron Maiden. Then it was No One Knows by Queens of the Stone Age. There are certain songs that he now varies stuff, so I'm thankful for that. But there are certain songs that he would play all the time. The song Seventh Son of a Seventh Son by Iron Maiden as well, over and over and over again. I was like, please play something else. Don't kill these songs for me. So there you go. Hello to my brother who is now joining us. Rob Rowe, my stomach hurts from the laughter. Thanks to everyone. This has been great. Again, if this is what you guys milk from SOD is something that that he's played also. So there you go. Johan, my son's first rock songs were Far Cry by Rush. Yeah, that's awesome. Yes, Brad, you've got it. Brad flexing his Spanish knowledge there, flexing like a pimp. How about that? Last person that I used that terminology with on here was David Ellefson. And I asked if there was anything else he wanted to pimp. And he says, I'm not pimping anything. I'm like, it's just an expression, my friend, before everything went down. So, yeah, Far Cry is a great song by Rush. I'm telling you, Snakes and Arrows, if you guys are even remotely a Rush fan, listen to that album. Spindrift, Armor and Shield, I believe, is another song that I play off of that all the time. There's like 5 tracks off of that I absolutely love. And again, if you listen to that, think about possibly having the same producer working with Iron Maiden. I think he would take he would take the band to another level. So, let's see. Let me crack open my Rush playlist here. So just let me see here. I can share this. So here we go. This is my Rush playlist. This is just the part that has the songs off of Snakes and Arrows. Far Cry, Armor and Sword, Working Them Angels. Working Them Angels is a song that gets in my head, and I just have to listen to it. Spindrift and We Hold On, the last track, just so good. Just absolutely love that album. But there you guys go. So my brother has left instruments throughout the house, so the kids get into the music. A keyboard and Ibanez 6-string. I was going to resurrect your drum set. You have you know that you have my permission to take my old drum set to your house. So whenever you want. So the only thing, like I said, what kills me, and this is what we were talking about with last week's show, a cymbal that I can pay $100 and something for in the US costs $400 here. It will be cheaper to bring my old cymbals in a cymbal bag on an airplane, which I will probably have to pay $300 to bring on a plane, than it will to buy the cymbals here in Spain. So there you go. Music is great for children and me. Let's see. So Jeremy's going with the classic with Signals and Tom Sawyer. Signals. What do I have off of Signals? Subdivisions, Analog Kid, and New World Man. Song that doesn't often get played anymore, at least in the States. Red Sector A, love that song. Time Stands Still. Animate. Driven. Driven is one of those songs that I kind of forgot about, and then when I listened to it again, just love that. And One Little Victory is one of these songs. Just love that song. So, anyone see Lars Kids rocking out on Blabbermouth? Yeah, I was going to post the video in Patreon. It's interesting because it's kind of like a White Stripes Royal Blood hybrid. So the music is kind of more towards more towards White Stripes, but they're kind of doing the royal blood type of approach to it is what I'm trying to get out of it. So Let's see. Roll the Bones and Xanadu. Roll the Bones is another cool song. So is Xanadu. Listen to Motley Crue this morning. Okay. So here's something maybe controversial that Rob, this is kind of along what you asked me and what Jeremy asked as well. So how about popular albums that I don't think are that great? Here are things that I can honestly mention. Dr. Feelgood by Motley Crue. To me, that album has not fared well over the years. The sound is very dated in the sense that, sure, they were pioneers on the LA Strip with Too Fast for Love and with Shout at the Devil, but they became another band that was part of the pack, in my opinion, with that album. Was it a huge album? Yeah. Doesn't mean it was great, though. How many albums do we know that sold a ton of copies, but you wouldn't consider the band's best album? I'll give you a Kiss album, Revenge. I think the guitar sound on Revenge is kind of thin. So it isn't one of my go-to albums. Do I think the song Unholy is great? Absolutely. But the rest of the album had the distortion of been cranked up a little more. I think that album would sound better. The guitar sound to me is just way too thin. And it's a product of that era. You know, they were coming out of Crazy Nights, not understanding if they were Van Hagar or if they were Bon Jovi. So it was still trying to be popular. So there you go. Motley Crue cost me. I bought the End box set, half price, but still a lot. Jeremy, are you saying that you bought the box set after the Motley Crue discussion, or just after, when you found that on half price there? I love that John Corabi 94 album. I know that there are people that either love it or hate it. People will say that's not a Motley Crue album. I love it. There's a lot of really cool stuff on that. A lot of heavy stuff. That is probably the heaviest that they actually got if you exclude the first two albums and even Theater of Pain. The first three albums and that Motley Crue 94 are their heaviest albums by far. That's awesome. So after the discussion, you bartered it down. What was that, on eBay or on Discogs? Where did you end up getting the album from? And let's see, Brad Dahl is with Rob on the Motley Crue album. So yeah, that discussion was great. The Iron Maiden discussion was great, and I'm fully expecting the Judas Priest discussion to be great as well. eBay was brand new and sealed. Awesome. eBay has plenty of stuff that, it's just waiting to be picked up, basically. Because they switched it up so that it's more stores instead of individuals selling stuff, and there's just a lot of stuff floating around there that vendors are looking to get rid of. Well, supposedly on Dr. Feelgood, Motley Crue was clean and sober, at least when they recorded it. After that, apparently they weren't. During Girls, they were all messed up on it. And apparently, you have the world's most functional heroin addict, which is who's Nikki Sixx, who was able to write several albums buried in the back of his closet tweaking on heroin. So go figure. He's got some special genes or something that have permitted him to do that, but whatever. His prerogative, not mine. The one thing that I posted in the group on the Patreon page, it was that the press release that I received for the new 6 a.m. album that's coming out. Iconic band 6 a.m. I'm like, iconic? Iconic for being what? Shitty, homogenized fucking radio rock? Come on, man. Okay, Nikki Sixx is in the band. DJ Ashba, whose biggest claim to fame is, okay, he played in Guns N' Roses, but Joseph Michael or whatever his name is, yeah, okay, he's sung backup and written vocals for people, including the two of them writing most of Saints of Los Angeles by Motley Crue, but I don't know. Yes, Dr. Feel just okay. I'm down with that. And hey, I'm saying I'm not saying the title track isn't good. I'm not saying Kickstart My Heart isn't good, but I've just heard Same Old Situation and Don't Go Away Mad so many times, and some of those other songs like Time for Change and Without You and stuff like that, that Rattlesnake Shake, Sticky Sweet, Rattlesnake Shake with the bogus horn section and stuff like that. It just doesn't sound good. Heroin addicts can be very resilient. My heroin eater is doing quite well. Is the heroin eater checking in with you, or is he in county lockup? What's the ETA on him? Oh, and yes, to answer my brother there, yes, I like Motley Crue regardless as well. They're a great band, maybe not great people, but hey, I'm there for the music. So it was similar to okay. Gotcha. So we'll see. Hopefully in a future episode you can let us know how the heroin eater is doing and whether or not he was able to make it. He will be going to jail soon. Okay. And I'm assuming that they can't place the blame on you, as you mentioned that people always ask, am I going to get in trouble? So so you're saying they are as iconic as 6 Sputnik in our house. 6 Sputnik actually had hits in the UK. 6 a.m. outside of wrangling their way onto Headbangers Ball because Nikki Sixx is in the band, have just again homogenized radio rock. Porcupine Tree, Steven Wilson. I'll take it further. Opeth, never got into any of those bands. So see, bands that I haven't been able to get into, which are very popular. Again, a lot of that has to do with similar to Tool. I like Tool, but every time Tool puts out a new album, it's the greatest album of all time, as per I don't know how many fans, and it's not even their greatest album. How's this the greatest album of all time? And I respect it. I know a lot of people like Porcupine Tree and all that stuff, but it unfortunately does not do it for me. Steven Wilson too, with its recent comments that he's made about heavy metal being garbage and metal being garbage and stuff like that. It's who's the majority of your fucking audience? People that love hard rock and metal. So I don't get it. So There you go. I mean, I don't. Does he think that Dream Theater isn't metal? Does he think that, early Queensryche isn't metal? Does he think that Rush doesn't have, bits and pieces of hard rock and metal? I mean, I don't get his statement, his recent statements anyway. So what else you guys want to talk about? Let's see. The drummer of Porcupine Tree being unreal. I don't doubt it. Again, the prog musicians are phenomenal. But I'm not even sure if I have anything. I may have something by Porcupine Tree. Let's see. In my library. I do not have any Porcupine Tree in the library. So there you guys go. Yeah, I don't know that they're necessarily if labels are necessary in the sense that, for example, I had Margarita Monet of Edge of Paradise on 2 weeks ago, and she, with all her press release stuff, she's pigeonholed as symphonic metal, and stuff like that. And I don't get it, because her voice is so unique. What Dave does on the guitar and the instrumental, the industrial elements that they add to the music really make it a hybrid of a lot of different things. So just to say it's symphonic music, it's like saying that Evanescence, who sounds nothing like Edge of Paradise, is symphonic music, which people talk about. And I don't get that at all, because they're much more of a hard rock band, in my opinion. But yeah, and Art's right that we listen to pretty much everything, and that's, again, I mentioned, that's why I want my kids to make their own decisions as well. Frank Zappa is another one that I never got into, guys. So there you go. Little by little, they're coming out of the woodworks. But yeah, seeing that you guys think this is fun, I may do this more often. And this is actually easier for me to do than trying to get guests on every week. Not saying that we'll do this every week, but similar to the way that we do the Patron episode. We may be doing this. So, Johan, it is 20 to 2 in the morning in your side of the world. In my side of the world, I appreciate you being up this late with us. Please stay safe. Have a good night's sleep. And hopefully you can join us for the patron discussion next week on Judas Priest. And yeah, so there you go. We'll have to have more cooking discussions with Johan in the future, since he's actually a chef and the rest of us are wannabes. So how about that? Thanks, Johan, again for being here tonight and for being a great supporter. So what would be the best child band made up of child musicians? Interesting, because if you want to consider baby metal when they first came out, technically all teenagers, they're all over 20 now, but I don't know, probably them. The Mexican band that I mentioned before, The Warning, those three sisters have been playing together since they were teenagers. They're all in their early 20s now as well, and they're sick players. Baby metal is kind of cheating in the sense that because the musicians behind them were all older people, they were just singing. So mad respect for Frank Zappa. I just never got into him. Obviously, he brought Steve Vai into the world, Terry Bozzio into the world. Everyone that played with him was just sick players. And when he was sick and bedridden with cancer, he was he was writing techno music. He was composing commercials. He was composing music for TV shows. He never stopped until he died putting music together. So mad respect to him. I never got into him, but doesn't mean that I don't respect what he did. Cool. So if you can join us, Rob, that'll be great. In the future, when I hit you up to be on the show, I'll ask you a week in advance as well. So there you go. Yes, I also didn't get into the Yoko Ono experience. Correct. I remember with a late girlfriend of mine was big into the Beatles and John Lennon, and there was a period there where she was buying all this John Lennon solo stuff, and she had to buy Yoko Ono as well. She bought one album and never bought anything else. So there you go. The Plastic Ono Experience, I think, was the name of the band. DC4 with 3 Duncans. That band is very cool. Their label, they're on High Voltage Music, which Bill Chavis, who runs it, Chavis, how you pronounce it, I think, isn't doing so well from a health standpoint. I don't know what's going on, but he posted like a cryptic message on Facebook the other day that didn't sound all that well. So I hope that whatever it is, he pulls through. But there you go. No, make a band up of musicians' children. Oh, okay. Well, there's a lot of musicians' kids who are out there that are playing. I mean, obviously, you've got Jason Bonham, you've got Wolfgang Van Halen now, whose album I thought was pretty good. I mean, nothing really sticks out from it. I think all the songs are solid, but it doesn't have like that one big hit that grabs you. Bruce Dickinson has several of his kids that are in bands. Lauren Harris, Steve Harris's daughter, was performing there for a while. I don't know what she's doing now. One of his sons is in a band. Geezer Butler's son is in another band. Tony Iommi's daughter was in another band for some time. Trying to think. We mentioned Lars Ulrich's kids. Chris Cornell's kids also. Robert Trujillo from Metallica. His kid Ty has been in several bands. Slash's kid, Scott Weiland's son. Actually, there was a band with Ty Trujillo. I forget what Slash's son's name, and with Scott Weiland's son. So the kids of 3 members of Velvet Revolver had a band, and they all it fell apart after a while. So there you go. I hope that's what you were looking for. I'm sure that there are other people's kids that are in music as well. There are a few DJs. Well, you have Kelly Osbourne as well, things like that. The hardest part, Rob, to do stuff recording from afar is getting everything to line up and sync up, because you need to all be using the same program. Or there was something called BandLab, I think it is, which allows you to like jam and record over the internet. But then if you have people cutting in and out, it doesn't work right. There's a lot of like hiccups with that whole thing. So that it's challenging. It can be done, but it's also challenging at the same time. So, but yeah, we have plenty of musicians. You mentioned you play bass. Brad plays bass. Jeremy plays guitar. Gabriel plays guitar. I play drums. I'm not sure if anyone else plays an instrument. I think that's everyone. Oh, actually, Steve Hoker plays guitar as well. So yes, we've got several different players that are in here. Several different musicians. So, anyone else want to chime in before we wrap up for the night? This has been a lot of fun. A lot funner than I thought it would be. We have to thank Jeremy for the idea because he's the one that came up with it. When we talked about the whole Danko Jones thing not coming through, he said, "Why don't you just do this?" I said, "Well, I'll think about it." And he said, "Just post it in Patreon. If we get enough feedback, do it." And I did. I got great feedback. I got 20 some odd questions out of it. So I meant to share our files and we make a song. We'll have to talk about that further, Rob. I'm not sure if I understand that. Yeah, the Cavalera kids, there's 3 of them. There's the son who's a singer and who also just did a project with his father and sung and played bass, I think, in that project. And then he's got 2 sons that are drummers. One of them is the drummer for Soulfly right now. So there you go. But he's got another son that's also a drummer. And Brad had a kid eat ant bait. Okay. Like those small, like ant, like motel type things. You have a space we can all get together. That space used to have guitars, and although they couldn't hear my drum set, they could sure feel the beats playing on the floor. Yes, you could play the trombone. There you go. You will not die from this. Okay. Yes, that is my new thing to ask Brad about. This happened. Am I going to die from this? He's like a fortune teller. So. So that's interesting. Getting back to the heroin guy, I thought for sure that, you hear all this stuff about people having, balloons rupture in their stomach and them dying from it. So that's why I thought that maybe that could have happened, but I guess maybe got to the hospital quick enough. So. Well, my brother has access to my 2 old cowbells. I had 2 different size cowbells, and that was prompted by Tommy Lee and the Rage Against the Machine. So I'm the Jeopardy host of metal. I hope I don't get kicked off. And that's funny because I was thinking of doing I'm actually thinking of doing like a quiz thing on the Mars Attacks Radio website. Maybe in a few months it may appear. I'll let you guys know. And the whole premise behind it is to answer a series of questions within a certain amount of time. And at the end of the month, whoever has the most amount of points wins a free t-shirt. So there you go. That's the idea. It happens on a Greyhound bus. You may not survive. So what's the difference between because you're somewhere in the middle of nowhere as opposed to close to a hospital? Is that what you're saying? Yes, it is a very coveted space. As is another fucking property I got to show on Sunday. So there you go. You would think many people on the bus would be carrying naloxone, but not true. Game show trivia would be fantastic. The hardest part with game show trivia nowadays is doing stuff without people cheating, and checking out online. I mean, obviously I could do something here where we do that. But we would it would have to be something so that people wouldn't be able to look stuff up on the internet. It's definitely something we could try in the future. Yes, but are your cowbell skills up to damn it, what's Pharrell's first name? Not the rapper. Will Ferrell's first name. Would you be doing it in the same thing, wearing one size short so your stomach could hang out? Well, I hear goats and cows doing triplets on cowbells every single day when I go for walks anyway. Plenty of farm animals here with all types of bells. Oh yeah, sure. The game show would have to be live. Yeah. Third triangle. Kazoo, the glockenspiel. What other? The claves you could play as well. I'm sure there are more instruments as well, more percussive instrument, bongos, congas, wind chimes. Speaking of which, I have a pair of of wind chimes that I found at a specific property that were from back in the 80s at some point. Handmade wind chimes, gold wind chimes. A one-hold piccolo. Yeah, that's kind of like the one-eyed snake that Cheech sings about in is that Things Are Tough All Over, the Cheech and Chong movie. He's constantly singing about his one-eyed snake before he has to go to the bathroom thanks to the shish kebabs. So there you go. Cool. I'm going to wrap this up at the top of the hour here. So we've got 6 minutes to go. So if you want to get any last comments, questions, concerns, feel free to do so. Regardless of the trivia, I could take it to the next level. Perhaps that could very well be. We'll see. Now, the interesting thing, I wonder if people would be willing, if I could reach out and get some, show hosts, and maybe do that, get some other show hosts as well, and see if I could, if I could get them to answer. Some people, due to their egos, would not participate. So. Is this the new Signals from Mars record? Live stream, yes. Mars Attacks recording, no. That would go to Gene Hoglan, 5.5 hours on the phone with him. Bumblefoot, 3 hours and change with him. Michael Kiska from Halloween, 2.5 hours with him. So I've had some long interviews with people. So there you go. I like to choose the last interview session because of the fact that I can talk to people longer, and I don't get the oops, someone else is calling, I gotta go. So Yes. If this show, Brad, you've talked about wanting to get or trying to get trying to get sent on administrative leave. I may be on administrative leave from here between one-eyed piccolos or one-hole piccolos and heroin talk. Who knows? Thankfully, nobody has complained yet or about anal bleaching. So let's hope that people continue to have a sense of humor and realize that, this is all in good fun, good sport. So are all of my relatives cool? Absolutely. That's a common gene within the majority of us, is that we have a cool gene. So Rob, take it easy. Thank you for being here tonight. I greatly appreciate it. And we'll make that Judas Priest discussion happen next week. And also for future reference, I'll reach out to you a week before to see if you want to come on and talk about your podcast and all that stuff. So awesome. And the show has been great. 2 hours, but 2 hours that have flown by. That's what I love about doing these shows, is that it's never difficult. Even when I think that I'm not going to have enough with a guest, I can more or less pick some stuff out, or you guys in the chat help move things along. So I enjoy, the support. I'm grateful for the support. And I hope all of you guys are safe and all of you guys have a great weekend. Thank you again for checking this out live, for everyone that popped in and said hello. Thank you to everyone that listens to this after the fact. If you get all the way to the end of this 2-hour show, tell your friends about Signals from Mars. Tell them about the great atmosphere and how you guys can chime in and talk about, the music that all of us love, hard rock, metal, and even stuff that wasn't hard rock and metal. We talked about other forms of music tonight. So there you go. Also, the Patreon is there. Go to patreon.com/Mars Attacks Podcast. You can get in for as little as $2 a month and be involved in the Judas Priest discussion next week. And from there, enjoy all the videos that I post and all the other content that is made available via Patreon, all the questions and all the different things where people chime in like this. All these questions went out to the patrons first. So thank you to them for their support and for providing all of the great material that we started the show with. So there you go. Yeah, I don't know. There are actually podcasters and people on Twitch that go for 24 hours. So I don't know that that's something that I can physically do, but it's a thought. One of these days, maybe. We'll see. We'll have rotating guests coming in, Brad telling stories and other people coming in and chiming in about different things. It'll be like a telethon. So there you go. Anyway, guys, thanks for such a great show. Thank you guys, because you guys made this happen. And again, appreciate everything that you guys do and everything that, you guys for listening, for chatting, for sharing, everything else. Thank you guys. And we'll see you next time right here on the Signals from Mars live stream, brought to you by the Mars Attacks Podcast and VMRIT.com. See ya.